Welcome to this week's episode of Talk of the Town. My name is Philip Swicegood, and I am back with my good friend, Dr. Kenneth Harper from Vein Specialist of the South. Now, if you have questions about your veins, give my friends at Vein Specialist of the South a call, and they will get you the answers that you deserve. Now, if you're one of our brand new viewers on WMGT, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you welcoming us into your home. If you haven't seen the show before, though, here's what you can expect: a conversation between me, Dr. Harper, and someone in the community that you need to know about. This week is no exception, as we are here with Kelly Henry from the Georgia Farm Bureau. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Kelly, before we get started, you have a super long title. I could not remember it. Can you share what your title is at the Georgia Farm Bureau?
Sure. I'm the Certified Farm Market Coordinator.
Certified Farm Market Coordinator. Now, we want to get into what you do here in a minute, but first, for people that might not be familiar with what the Georgia Farm Bureau is, tell us, what exactly is it?
So glad you asked. So the mission of Georgia Farm Bureau is to support agriculture, Georgia's agriculture. One of the ways is we have programs all across the state within our field services department. So in that department, we've got Ag in the classroom. Ag is short for agriculture. So all about education. Another program that we have is leadership. So we have Young Farmers and Ranchers, and our Women's Leadership Committee is housed in there, along with what we'll talk about later today, the Farm Passport and the Certified Farm Market Program. Another department that we have is our Public Policy Department, and those guys are amazing at keeping up with what is going on within our government and within legislation. So they keep apprised of how those different bills that are proposed will affect farmers. So they keep up with that. And then, of course, we have our marketing department, and those individuals are awesome about being able to communicate what we're doing. So that way, whether we're educating or we're working with lawmakers or trying to get the word out, their team is awesome and is able to do that.
You know, I've been looking for this interview for so long, particularly about the Farm Passport deal. But let's go back a little bit to the organization, because I remember as a child we had a family farm, and my parents were members of the Farm Bureau in Wilkes County, Georgia. And I think you grew up in North Georgia and you had a little bit of farm exposure, but you got a lot more now, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So you talk about it being a grassroots organization. Tell our audience about what that looks like from the lowest level up to the national level.
Sure. So everything that we do starts out, when we say grassroots, it starts off at the very roots of the population. So we have a county farm bureau office in all of our counties.
So how many counties are there in Georgia?
So there's 159.
And how many groups do you have?
How many offices?
Yes.
We have 158 offices.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yes, we have Rockdale and DeKalb, they share.
Okay.
So with that, we have our counties are very active. Everything is voted on within their counties because there'll be committees. So once everybody votes there, it goes up to the state level. And I work at the state office. And so we collect all those in, and then we vote as Georgia on our national level.
So they're representatives of each county that are represented on the state level, kind of like the government?
Yes,
Yeah,
very much like
and
that.
then the national. What's the name of the national organization?
American Farm Bureau.
Okay. And where was the first Farm Bureau started? When did that start?
So believe it or not, the very first Farm Bureau is actually started in New York, which is wild to think about because you don't.
Crazy.
Yeah, you don't. Pair the two.
Upstate, though, there are a lot of farmers up upstate New York.
Absolutely, there is. But in Georgia, we got started in 1957. So we just celebrated our 85th anniversary. And really, we started just as a group of 50 farmers coming together and say, hey, we need some support for agriculture. Let's talk about it. And then it wasn't until 20 years later that we added insurance, which is what a lot of people know us for now.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So can anybody buy Farm Bureau insurance?
Oh,
You have to be a
absolutely.
farmer?
No, you don't.
Okay.
So we actually started our insurance because farmers were having a really hard time getting insured. And the way that it's set up is we've got an insurance company, and then we have the federation, which is what we're able to do all of our nonprofit work out of. And so the insurance is a way that funds some of our nonprofit work that we do, but we're also funded by membership. So a Georgia Farm Bureau membership is only $35, and anyone can be a member.
Anybody can be.
And there's tons of benefits, right, to being a member?
Absolutely. So whether you just like want to be a member because you have a heart for agriculture, we love to say the thing of you're going to need a doctor at some point in your life, and you're going to need a lawyer at some point in your life. And those are great and wonderful things, but you're going to need a farmer every single day.
Every day,
Every
right?
day, that's
And
Every
so-
meal.
So if you
Right.
want to support farmers, the work that we do, but we realize that, or we want to give our members more than just the feel good and like knowing that they're supporting a good thing, but there's so many discounts. And so we have a whole app. There's thousands of discounts that we give as part of our member benefits. So whether you like to eat pizza and you want that Papa John's discount, or whether you're a gardener and you want, the grasshopper lawnmower discount, there's the gamut. So you easily make that $35 membership back real quickly.
That's
And-
pretty.
and supporting a good cause in the
Right.
process,
Absolutely.
supporting you guys. And, Kelly, I was thinking earlier, if you ask the average person today where their food comes from, they're going to say Publix, they're going to say Kroger, they're going to say something like that. When in reality, it's farmers, and that's who you guys are there to protect. And going back to something that you touched on earlier, the different legislative initiatives that you guys had, we were talking earlier, there was a specific one, the right to repair. Can you touch on that for a minute?
Sure. So this just happened recently. What has been happening is that the new technology that is put in a lot of tractors of these just like really big name brand companies, farmers have not had the right to repair anytime some of this technology goes wrong and puts their tractor out. So they would have to take their tractor into the dealership in order to have it worked on. And then they would have to wait in line for this to happen. And it's a high cost because only that specific person can fix it. So just recently, the American Farm Bureau has worked with these different dealerships, and John Deere was the first to sign on to say, hey, we recognize that when the farmers can get out when the sun is shining and all these different conditions are right for them to work, they need to be working, because if they're not working, it's costing them money. It could cost them a whole crop, but it reflects back on consumers, because if farmers are put in that position, then consumers don't have as much to buy, the prices go up. It's a whole thing. And so they came on and said, hey, we're going to let farmers have the right to repair their equipment, which is a huge win.
But that's important. That was an important initiative that you guys saw that the end user is going to save money on. So that's fantastic.
We're really excited for their support. We've had a few other like New Hollands come on and sign the same thing. So we're really hoping that all the different name brand dealerships are going to come on and follow suit.
That's awesome. Now, we were talking a little bit about, you read in the paper or see it online about corporate farming and entities even that aren't even American coming in and buying up the farmland. But what's the status of farming in Georgia right now? Our audience would want to know that.
Sure. Okay, so in Georgia, really, Georgia is still honestly a reflection of the U.S. As far as 98% of our farms are family owned. So thank goodness. There's only a few that are actually corporately owned, and those are really large. But they're still in Georgia. In Georgia alone, we have 42,000 farms,
Wow.
which is a big number.
It's huge.
But defined by the USDA, that means that any farm that makes $1,000 a year off of their farm is qualified. It can be considered a farm, and so that's how we have 42,000.
Neat.
Okay. How much farmland is there in Georgia? You know that? How many acres of farmland? Is it?
Dr.
Probably
Harper,
thousands of acres.
I used to know this. Yes,
So, do the pecan farmers count?
absolutely.
Okay. What's the biggest crop in Georgia right now?
Oh, chickens.
Chickens.
I know
Okay.
it's not exactly.
Chickens? Are you
crop.
a chicken
the
farmer?
number one?
You can be a chicken
I
farmer?
come from a chicken farmer. Line of chickens.
Okay.
So with poultry, that is our biggest. I'm going to go up to 50,000 view here and say that agriculture is the largest industry that we have in Georgia. It is a huge, it's a huge income for the state, which is awesome. But the biggest of that whole third of that agriculture pie comes from chickens or the poultry industry. So
So it's not peaches.
it's not peaches.
It's not pecans. It's chickens, right?
It's chickens.
Right.
We do make half of the nation's supply of pecans and pecans,
Okay.
pecans.
Pecans.
I
Hey,
disguised
that's a-
myself as
How do
pecans.
y'all say it, right? There's probably an argument in your family how you say that.
She was
word,
saying
right?
pecans earlier, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I gotta pick on you whenever this starts.
That's funny.
I know. We also talked about we're the peach state, but
Yeah.
we're actually the third in the nation as far as highest production of
We have the
peaches.
best peaches, though, right?
I
I mean,
say
they
the same
taste the
thing.
best,
That's
right?
interesting.
Absolutely.
Now, Kelly, I've got another question I want to ask you about farming, but first, we have a quick word from our sponsor.
I'm a mom and a professional outside sales representative, always on the go. I enjoy spending time working in my yard, shopping, and going on long walks. After being pregnant with my second child, I was left with terrible varicose veins in both legs. This caused heaviness, pain, and swelling, which I dealt with for years, but it was more of a cosmetic issue. I wanted great looking legs. Then a friend told me about Vein Specialist of the South. This office wasn't what I expected. They listened to my concerns, and the staff were extremely caring and informative about the procedure and what to expect. Plus, the procedure had minimal downtime. Since having the procedure, my legs feel amazing, and I have my youthful legs back. I would have addressed it years ago if I'd have known how easy it was. If you want 5-star vein care, I encourage you to call Vein Specialist of the South today.
I want to talk about your Farm Passport program. I understand this is something that you started. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell us all about this. What is this?
Okay, I'm so excited. So we're celebrating our 5th year, and we're releasing out the 2023 Farm Passport. And this is your guide, like as a consumer, to go to farms all across the state that invite you to come and buy directly from them. So as you go, you've got 93 farms, and you can get your passport physically stamped at these farms. And at the end of the year, you mail that in and you get prizes.
Neat.
So the prizes are ranged. So if you just get 5 as a t-shirt, and then they build. So 10 is ag swag, things like sunglasses and water bottles and things like that. 20 is our farm to table dinner and tour. It is one of our best events. I'm a little biased. It's one of the best events that we do all year long.
Is that a one-time event?
Well, we have 8 this year.
8.
Yes, because we have so much interest, which is wonderful.
Hmm.
But it's a behind the scenes tour, very private tour. We limit our groups to about 50, and then we have a really nice dinner. So that is our 20 level spot. 30, you pick your farm goods. So if you have a sweet tooth, if you're a chef, we have a seasoning selection, and then we also have a spa kit. So that's all of our 30 level winners. And then if you go to all of them and you're just like,
Oh, 90.
which is so hard to do.
Have you done it?
Yes,
Right.
I have, but I don't expect, quote, normal people or not employed people to do this.
Right.
But we've had somebody do it every year except this last year. And so they have this really nice jacket that they get to proudly wear as they go out.
That's cool. Now, so if you go, I mean, they're all over the state, right?
Absolutely.
They're scattered all over the state. But what would you expect? What's the average Joe or Jane that go? That is it a family affair that they all go?
We
Children?
have a lot of
welcome?
families. We have a ton of retirees that go too, which is a lot of fun to see. We have a lot of girl groups that will go and travel the state together. And we have a lot of grandparents taking their grandkids. So it's like a perfect fit for them. Because what you'll see when you go to visit these farms is there's no two alike. So as you go, there's, you pick strawberry, peaches, or apples, to wineries, to if you want to go to a hog farm or a dairy, or if you just want to get vegetables, or you want to go somewhere that has lots of fun agritourism activities. These farms run the gamut, so it's a lot of fun.
So, is it true that they have some of these tractors are GPS directed, and the driver kind of sits up there and kind of watches the computer and air conditioning and country music playing? Is that
You
true?
know what? That is true. I don't know that you'd find it on a lot of the farms in the program, only
Right.
because they're smaller.
Right.
But on larger scales, because those tractors are real expensive.
And so if you do a tour, do you get to ride a tractor, or is there a hayride or anything
You
like
know,
that?
I gotta let the insurance part come out. So I don't think we can let you drive a tractor. But we do. You get to take a ride across the farm.
So, So what does it mean to have a certified farm, or is I might be using not the right term, but
No, that is what we call our program, Certified Farm Markets. And they are certified because before they can be in the program, I go out and visit every farm and I make sure that they're growing what they say that they're growing. Because one of the rules to be in it is that half of the stuff that you sell needs to be grown on your farm. You're not just a middleman, you really are. So that way, when you go as a consumer to visit a farm and you have questions or you want to know where your food comes from, you can ask, you can see.
so you make an appointment to go, or they're open Monday through, Friday,
passport
Saturday,
will show
Sunday,
you.
or something.
Some farms, and I'm so glad you hit on this. Some farms have specific hours because they're large enough and they have enough work that they can keep labor all year long, and so that's not a problem. They can keep hours. But other farms are smaller and they can't. And getting people to work for a farm, it is hard. I tell you what. So they're always looking for. If you're looking for a job, there's always opportunities. So some farms, depending on the weather or depending on if their one person that works for them got sick or their kid gets sick, their hours are not always dependent, which is why we say call before you go, because we don't want your heart broken when you go and they're not open.
Okay, but speaking of these local farms, so we're sitting here in Monroe County, Georgia. Give us a couple good options within a short drive from here.
Sure. Okay, Elliott Farms.
Elliott Farms.
They're open right now with strawberries, and some, I can't say this, but some people have told me they've got some of the best ice cream.
Okay.
So also Dickey
and you can go
Farms.
pick these strawberries, is that
Yes,
right? That's
you
awesome.
can.
At Elliott, okay. And then Dickey's?
Yeah, Dickey Farms, they do peaches and strawberries. They've got a corn maze coming up. In the fall, they also have pecans. So there we go.
I love it.
I'm switching back with my...
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, so those are two of the closest farms to Macon.
Yeah.
But when you get a farm passport, which you can get at any county farm bureau office, or you can get at any of the participating farms, you open up on the very first page, it shows you like a big map of where everything's located.
What about Houston County? What farms are down there that?
In Houston County, so Lanes, Southern Orchards, they're there. That's probably your closest ones right there. Yeah.
Okay, but do people usually kind of line up a day? They'll go to several.
Oh, absolutely. So we actually offer, if you go onto our website, we have different routes that you can take to try to optimize your time and your day. We do see that when people go, like, in just a day, you could get 5 farms, and there's your t-shirt, If you go up to Ellijay in the fall, that's 10 farms that you could go to in a day. I mean, you're over halfway to that really nice dinner that we talked about.
So I think our mutual friend Robin Crosby took her grandchildren or something last year, and she posted video or pictures
She
on
did.
Facebook from the
She
farm.
did.
How many farms did she go to?
Oh, I'd have to remember. She went to over 20. I know that. She was on our cover 2 years ago. So all of our covers, too, just a fun fact, are real families who have traveled with the farm passport. So they're not paid actors or anything like that.
So how many people actually participated last year?
We had over
2022?
1,000, which
Okay.
is really exciting. That was a new record for us. We have grown the program every year. We've doubled the number of people who've traveled because every time when you go, you're like, man, I should tell a friend. And then they do, which is really
So
great.
the challenge this year is 2,000. We're going to double the
2,000.
right 2,000.
Let's go.
2,000 people.
As many people as watch this show, we could be a big contributor.
We
to
could
that
be a massive
2,000 number,
contributor.
right?
That would be awesome.
Right. So,
That's fantastic. Kelly, I want to touch on the insurance piece of what you guys do. There's been a lot of data that has been produced that the average American is just woefully underinsured. I mean, drastically underinsured. And I'm sure you guys see this stuff as well. Is this a product that you guys offer to the individual person out there, to the layperson that is non-farming insurance? Like, do you do auto insurance, life insurance, and all that stuff?
We do. I'm so glad you asked. So we do home, auto, and life. And there is probably more that one of my insurance friends are probably just like, please, Kelly, mention this. But I would say, so that's not what I'm with farmers all the time. So I would say if you have insurance questions, please contact your county farm bureau office because there's one that couldn't be any further than 20 minutes from your house. We are a local team and we love to pride ourselves on customer service.
Fantastic. I read this interesting stat the other day. In the 1800s, 90% of the U.S. workforce was strictly doing food production. It was strictly agriculture. Today, that number is like less than 2%. Theoretically, there are fewer farmers now producing more food than ever. So I'm curious, with there being fewer farmers now than ever before, what are some of the challenges that these farmers face?
Great question. So they always face labor shortage, not having enough people to come help and stick it out because it is tough work. Another challenge is input costs. Fertilizer and other inputs this year were astronomical. So that's really hard.
The fuel went up really crazy too,
It
didn't it?
did. It did.
All right.
So you have these farmers who are currently in production that face these challenges. But then you talk about like, we really have a need for more farmers because a lot of like farmers have kids, and if they leave the farm, that's even fewer folks that are doing it. But there's such a ceiling, honestly, to like break through for a new farmer to come up because you think about how much land is costing right now, and then you talk about like equipment. So a lot of farmers share equipment. So they have to start making farmer friends to get into.
And they help each other sometimes too, right?
Absolutely, they do.
Right. Most people have the 4-H in their schools. If you have children, they might be exposed to 4-H. What's the kind of relationship between the Farm Bureau and 4-H and FFA?
Oh, we love both of those organizations. So some of the ways that we support them, we give money to them for different things that they do, but we also, like their livestock shows, we will fund like the money that goes to the grand winners and the reserves. We also, for like kids at large, even if your kid is not an FFA or 4-H, we have different contests like our art contest, our essay contest, and winners will get money.
So how do you enter that?
So through our County Farm Bureau offices, you just enter your submissions through there. Right now is honestly the
And
time to be
there's
asking.
prizes to win?
There's money, cash
Money?
prizes for kids.
Money to win.
Love it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Part of what we love to do is to educate people about farming. And so this is one of the great ways to get kids interested in researching a topic and learning about agriculture. I'll shout out Lauren Goebel. She does an amazing job with our Ag in the Classroom. So we talked about our grassroots level. So Lauren is on the state level, and she creates all kinds of curriculum and activities, no-bake activities, and just fun stuff. But it is our volunteers on the county levels, the local levels, they'll actually volunteer their time to go read a book and do an activity in the classroom with kids. And so that's just another way that if someone wanted to get involved, that they could.
What about grants? I know y'all give grants for different projects. Tell us some examples of that.
So an example of that would be if a school wanted to start a garden. Our county, I wouldn't say every county farm bureau, you got to make a relationship with your county farm bureau, but if they have extra funds, they want to use it for the mission of supporting Georgia agriculture and education. So they will actually give supplies and cash to help make that happen.
This will be a little bit of a surprise, but our esteemed colleague here, Phillips, has some news to share. He looks really good and bright-eyed today, but tell us what happened the last few days at your house.
If my questions are not as pertinent and sharp as they typically are, we just had a brand new baby. Bennett Graham Swicegood was born about 36 hours ago, and I think I've slept about a half of one of those hours. But mom and baby are doing well, and yeah, I've cleaned up a lot of diapers. You know, I went my entire life without changing a diaper until like 36 hours ago.
Congratulations.
I've changed like 8.
Right.
Like every like 3 hours. I would boom, boom, boom. You know, it's super efficient.
You know, the Farm Bureau probably has some classes they could give about
Bennett,
that.
yeah, Bennett needs to be a Farm Bureau member. That's right. Yeah, but you know that's the cool thing though about the passport program and different things like that is, you know, me with my young son, we can go and do these sorts of things. You know, there are places to go in Middle Georgia to be able to experience the outdoors and see stuff that is actually produced in our state.
Yeah, and as you're going with the farm passport, you'll see like different icons like in the ledgers, and so you can see if you love education, you want to take educational class on like preserving or canning or whatever, you can do that. More than just like going visiting and getting to taste like the fresh foods, you get to experience in a different way. So that's a fun thing. If you're also looking for other ideas like festivals and stuff like that, I have an email list. I only send 4 emails a year, and it's cfm@gfb.org. So when you email me, I will send you what's in season, recipes, what farms are offering something extra.
So what's the email? What was that email address again?
cfn@gfb.org.
Now, Kelly, as we move towards wrapping up here, if there's one thing that you want our audience to know about Georgia farmers, what do you think that would be?
Oh, my heart is with Georgia farmers so much. The one thing I would love for people to know is that they work really hard to provide food for Georgians, and that like our food security is actually our national security. So what they do is so important. So if you have an opportunity, I would love for people to be able to thank a farmer and be able to ask questions about what they do and really get to know their farmer.
Absolutely. Kelly, that's fantastic. The work that you guys do and that farmers around the state do is just extremely important and literally puts food on the table and just provides for people. And we just thank you guys for what you do.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us this week on Talk of the Town. Stay tuned for where me and Dr. Harper will show up next. You never know where that might be.
I'm a nursing professor, mother of 4, and very active, playing in sports my entire life. After each pregnancy, my legs got worse, and I started running again to lose baby weight, but nothing helped how my legs looked. I was self-conscious in a bathing suit or shorts, and my legs ached after sitting or standing too long. That's when I went to Vein Specialists of the South. The ultrasounds they performed were very thorough, and they explained everything in detail. I knew then I picked the right place for vein care. During my procedures, I was never uncomfortable, and they played my favorite praise music the whole time. I can't say enough good things about the staff. I've never been to an office where everyone I came in contact with was smiling and happy to help in every way. I'm very happy with how my legs look now. It's a drastic difference, and I have confidence in myself again. If you need vein care, I encourage you to call Vein Specialists of the South today. It's the best choice you'll make.